These notes are on elements and how elements are important in biology. My original intent with these videos was to be able to do them on the iPad and handwrite notes with you guys just like we were doing on the smartboard, but my iPad has not come to me yet and I can't handwrite things on a computer. So what I'm going to do is type notes and show you the PowerPoint, kind of like what we were doing before. Remember to title your page. Today is 9-8 and these are about elements. Remember to keep up with page numbers in your notebook and to go back and make sure your table of contents is correct. You may be on a different page at this point depending on how big you write. If at any point you feel like you need to pause this video to catch up, you can do that. First, another word for elements is atoms. The two words are kind of interchangeable. An atom or an element is a substance that cannot be broken down into smaller pieces. It's like if you had a piece of paper and you cut the piece of paper in half, then you cut the paper in half again, and cut it in half again, cut it in half again. You're going to get to a point where you can't cut the paper anymore. An atom is kind of like that, but for chemistry. It's the smallest possible piece you could have. And we can find a list of all of the known elements on the periodic table. Here's an example of a periodic table. I know it's probably been a while since you've seen one. Maybe new atoms have been added on and there's new boxes on there you didn't see before. A lot of the atoms we are going to deal with are on the top of the periodic table. But remember that all atoms and elements can be found on this table. An atom has three parts: protons, neutrons, and electrons. Here's a model of an atom in this picture. In this model, the protons are orange and they have a plus sign because protons have a positive electric charge. The neutrons are green. They don't have a charge, they are neutral. That's why they don't have any symbol inside of them. And the electrons are negatively charged and they're the blue-purple color. Notice that the protons and neutrons are on the inside while the electrons are around the outside. The electrons orbit around the protons and neutrons in the center. We're going to, for the purposes of biology, look specifically at the protons and the electrons. Protons are different for every atom. No other atom can have the same number of protons. So we can identify an atom based on the number of protons it has. There is a special number on the periodic table that is called the atomic number. The atomic number tells you the number of protons in an atom. This number appears on the top of the box. So you see lithium's box here and the atomic number is circled. We can also see that model on the side. That is also lithium. I know it is lithium because it has 3 protons. and the atomic number for lithium is 3. If we look at the periodic table again, we can see that hydrogen's atomic number is 1, helium has an atomic number of 2, lithium is 3, beryllium is 4, boron's 5, carbon is 6, and so on. The atomic number again tells you the number of protons. So this is a great way to identify and organize atoms because no two of them are going to be exactly the same. Now on to the electrons. The electrons have a very special job. They help atoms to bond together. That way one atom can join on with other atoms and they can create chemical bonds and molecules. For example, our picture here is carbon dioxide, CO2. It has 2 oxygens and 1 carbon bonded together. And the way they bond together is by sharing electrons. So right here, there are 4 electrons being shared, and right here, there are 4 electrons being shared. There's another way to show it down here. Those electrons in the carbon and oxygen atoms are bonded together. That way carbons and oxygens can go together and make one molecule called carbon dioxide. Here are some important atoms. We're not going to write them down right now. You could look it up online if you really wanted to know, but just to kind of give you an idea of what atoms are important in living things. Oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, and nitrogen are the top 4. They're the most important. There are some other ones that are also important, like calcium and phosphorus and sodium and chlorine. We're going to see a couple of those in a second. But you can see here in this table the element with its symbol, its atomic number or its number of protons, and the percentage of the human body weight that atom takes up. You can see that a human body, and really most living things, are oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, and nitrogen. Let's talk about carbon though, because carbon is especially important in living things. Any molecule that contains carbon is called organic, or an organic molecule. There's actually a whole branch of chemistry that's just about organic molecules. These molecules are your carbohydrates, your proteins, your DNA. All the important molecules for living things are organic. All of the other molecules in the world are called inorganic because they don't have carbon. And carbon is pretty important when it comes to living things because all of those molecules that are organic molecules are very important for living things. Like DNA is an organic molecule. These pictures on the bottom, glucose and fructose, those are sugar molecules. You need those to make energy in your cells. The molecule that is on the right side, that is a fat molecule. You need those. So carbon is pretty important. It's in everything. There are 2 things that make carbon really important though. First, carbon has 4 bonding electrons. It can bond to up to 4 other things. And carbon is kind of flexible. It can form many kinds of bonds in many configurations. So you can see here it can form a ring, it can form a straight line, it can form a zigzag line. Carbon is pretty versatile, and that's important because we got to make lots of different molecules for all the different living things in the world. Let's put carbon on a page by itself. Here we go. That concludes the notes for today on elements. Please, if you have any questions, remember to write them down so that you can remember to ask them later.